Welcome to the Modern Chat Network. Today we're diving into the really complex and honestly contradictory stories coming out of Zimbabwe. It seems like on any given day, the headlines can paint two completely different pictures of what's actually happening in the nation. So, what's really going on? Is Zimbabwe a nation that's making a powerful economic comeback, charting a new course towards stability? Or are we actually seeing these deep, systemic cracks starting to show just beneath the surface? In this explainer, we're going to unpack these two competing stories, using reports that all came out on the very same day to try and figure it out. All right, first up, let's look at the official story. This is the government's vision for the country, and it's a narrative that's full of progress and a whole lot of optimism. And at the very heart of this vision is a pretty powerful number. In his State of the Nation address, President Emerson Mnangagwa projected that Zimbabwe's economy is on track to grow by a really robust 6.6% in 2025. Now, according to the president, this growth isn't just about figures on a spreadsheet. He says it's built on a foundation of national unity and resilience. The big goal here is to make macroeconomic stability the new normal, the status quo for the country's future. And to back this up, the government is pointing to several key things. We're talking record harvests, foreign reserves climbing all the way up to $900 million, and major infrastructure projects moving right along. They also say they're making it easier to do business and have approved 5,000 new health posts, which is a big deal for the healthcare system. Okay, but that's only one side of the coin. Because on the exact same day all this positive news was announced, a whole different set of reports started bubbling up, and they revealed challenges and tensions that point to a much, much more complicated reality. So let's start with the political scene. This is where we start to see reports that raise some pretty serious questions about the integrity of the country's institutions and, well, the stability of the ruling party itself. So check this out. There's this case involving a Judge Never Katillo. The accusation is that he wrote a judgment for a case he never actually heard. Now, the Judicial Service Commission recommended a tribunal to look into this, but sources are claiming the justice minister is dragging his feet, supposedly to protect the judge. You can see how this immediately raises serious questions about political interference in the justice system. And the political drama doesn't stop there. An outspoken former legislator has made this pretty sensational claim that there's a generational consensus inside the ruling ZANU-PF party and that they're pushing for a prominent businessman to succeed the president. This is apparently causing a huge factional battle with the vice president, which suggests that behind that public face of unity, there could be a serious power struggle going on. Okay, so that's the politics. Now let's switch gears and look back at the economy. Because just like with the politics, the foundations of that projected boom, well, they start to look a bit more fragile when you dig a little deeper. And here's where the contrast is just stark. The government is pushing for stability, right? Yet for the second year in a row, not a single Zimbabwean bank made it onto Africa's top 100 list. The reason given is years of economic shocks, the lingering shadow of hyperinflation, and just severe currency instability. It's a huge red flag about the health of the financial sector. The vision is all about attracting new investment, and that is happening, but it's the way it's happening that's so telling. Investors are overwhelmingly choosing to build brand new factories from the ground up because they want to avoid the old ones that are haunted by legacy debts and huge repair costs. So while there's new growth, it also means these valuable national assets in old industrial areas are basically just being left to rust. So you might be asking, okay, all of this is high-level politics and economics, but what does it actually mean for the daily lives of ordinary Zimbabweans? Well, again, the picture is one of really sharp contrasts. On the one hand, you've got that undeniably good news we mentioned, the government approving 5,000 new jobs in the health ministry. That is a huge step. And it's meant to tackle staff shortages and really boost the healthcare system. But then, at the very same time, you hear reports about a breakdown in public safety. A major road in the capital, the Simon Mazeroze flyover, has become this notorious crime hotspot where people are being mugged and terrorized. It creates this strange, dual reality, right? Progress in one area and real peril in another. So where does all of this lead? What does it all mean for the path forward? For a little bit of perspective, it's actually interesting to look at a challenge one of Zimbabwe's neighbors is facing. There is this opinion piece about South Africa that's a pretty stark warning. It basically calls it a criminal and mafia state and proposes this radical idea for a reset, a national transitional authority made up of non-political experts. It's a fascinating thought, especially because the article notes that a similar idea was actually floated for Zimbabwe years ago during its own crisis. Makes you wonder. And that really brings us full circle, right back to our central question. You've got the official story of resilience, stability, and growth, and running right alongside it, you have these other stories of political infighting, a fragile economy, and social decay. With these powerful conflicting forces at play, which one is going to win out and ultimately define Zimbabwe's future? So, if you found this breakdown insightful and you want to see more content that really tries to get beyond the simple headlines, we would be so grateful for your support.
Hitting that like button and, of course, subscribing is a massive help for our channel. We're on this journey to get to 1,000 subscribers.
And reaching that goal is what allows us to get monetized, which, to be honest, means we can make this our living and keep creating more of these explainers for you. And if you know anyone who'd find this interesting, sharing it with them is one of the best ways you can help us grow. We appreciate every single one of you immensely. Thanks so much for watching.